been 48 hours, but there is still only one topic on the minds of football fans, and that is Arsenal's thrashing of Man City in what I'm calling the Stay Humble Derby. Today, we're going to go through the performances of both sides, what it means, and we are going to have the debate. Is it Arsenal that needs to stay humble? Is it Haaland that needs to stay humble? We're going to give you our thoughts on the entire matter. But let's kickstart. Reece, we've got to come to you first. A phenomenal result from Arsenal, putting the champions to the sword in that fashion. You must have been happy with that result in isolation. What were your thoughts on the match?
Yeah, outstanding result really from across the board, particularly from the likes of of Lewis-Skelly. So it's been sort of one of those results where Man City, have they turned a corner, have they not? I know that when they looked like they had, they then lost again, and then this was one of those games where we thought maybe they're going to be up for this, and they were. They did play all right, but Arsenal, I think, just were too good for them on the day. I mean, it wasn't just a 2-1 win. This was a 5-1 thrashing, and I think the scoreline flattered Arsenal a little bit, because I think obviously once City got that equalizer, the fact that we went straight up the other end and scored just flattened it, absolutely flattened it for them, and that's something you don't expect of Man City. But some fantastic performances in there, some great goals as well, great finishing, and overall, outstanding performance for Arsenal, which is something I think we weren't expecting, is probably not the right word, but wanted to see more of, because we've been playing well against the top sides, but to play like that is different level.
Yeah, and Jamie, from your side, what did you make of this result? I mean, you might know the stats better than me, but I cannot remember the last time City lost 5-1 or even conceded 5 goals. It's just not something we see really ever. What did you make of the game?
No, I don't know the last time we conceded 5. To be honest, it's been quite a while. We're normally the ones who are giving the thrashings out. So sometimes it happens, you got to take it. Sort of Arsenal have been done 5, Chelsea 5, 6, Liverpool 5. So it happens to all the teams. We are on a down spell from, the last four seasons in a row. If you're starting off with the game though, it's how not to start a game, how not to start a football match. Man City Part 2. We showed it against Chelsea, what not to do in the first few minutes. And then we thought, well, we won that game. Let's do it again at Arsenal. It's honestly, it's rookie. It's really, it's embarrassing. The mistakes that we make for goals that early on. I will give Kushanov sort of, a benefit of doubt when he's had 2 training sessions. I can't give it to Akanji when he's been here for 3 seasons now. So things aren't good enough in that department. Look, before the game, it was the least confident I've ever been going to the Emirates. Now, this isn't when it was at Highbury. I never expected to win, and I don't think I did actually ever see us win there. That was a different era of Arsenal. But going to the Emirates, it was one where I was like, give me a draw now. Don't care about the performance. Give me a draw. I'll go home, kind of thing. And obviously you would have taken it with the 5-1. I do agree with Reece. 5-1 flattered Arsenal. Let's be honest, we gifted them a goal in the first few minutes, and then the second goal was a massive deflection. Arsenal seem to love a massive deflection against us to score goals, but they all count the same. But I do agree with Reece as well. When that second went in, we were flat completely. It was like, right, we've got ourselves back in the game. Haaland scored a good goal. And then we didn't press Partey and just let him walk forward, and then he can have a shot, and then it's hit the back of, I think it was Stones, I can't remember who it was. Simple, goes in the back of the net, nothing you can do. The problem is we've been poor defensively and poor in midfield, and it's the same conversations again. I don't think we look great in attack, but Arsenal are a very good defensive side. It's when we're not in our best moments, Arsenal are going to punish us. Liverpool will punish us in a few weeks if we perform like that. Chelsea would have punished us if they actually, went 5 yards forward.
I think, that was the main point. I mean, looking at that from my side as a Chelsea fan, I was just incredibly frustrated. Even more so, I said I was annoyed at the time when we lost to you, and watching that, I was just like, oh my word! Like we could.
We performed better against you than we did against Arsenal. Is the only sort of difference. But yes, we're still there for the taking, no matter who we play, because defensively we're not good enough. We need Diaz back for that defence to be any shape ready. We've got Nunez playing right back. He's not a right back, and he's not a right winger either. He's in this massive hybrid role, filling in a gap really until it seems to be until the summer, and we sign a right back. That's the only sort of excuse I have. It's not an excuse. It's sort of the predicament we're in. We've waited too long in the transfer window for the summer one and not reinforced it.
What about Rico Lewis? Because look, he came on the scene. He started right back. He did have some roles in CDM, but he was supposed to be the next big thing. And Nunez is a CM, as we know. He was great at Wolves doing it. Could attack and defend, and I really like the look of him. So what's happened to Lewis in order for Nunez to now be this right back, which clearly he's not that great at?
Lewis isn't physical enough. And it was something that we were talking about a few weeks ago, like when I was going to City. Lewis looks great when we're on top. But when we're having a bad day, Lewis looks awful because of his physicality, because he's not a game changer. And that's not a disrespect to him, that he's a right back at the end of the day, or going into the midfield. He's not going to win you massive games like a De Bruyne, a Foden can, Haaland, etc. But yeah, it seems to be when we have a good game, he can look very good. But when we have a bad game, he looks extremely bad. And I think Pep's just gone, I'm using Nunez because he's taller, so should win headers more, and he plays more down the wing, so it allows Foden to come inside. I'd rather have Foden in the inside than Rico Lewis. So I think that's the problem he's got with trying to fit in Lewis. He'll get game time, but at this moment in time, he shouldn't be number one right back.
Yeah, fair. And in terms of City, just before we move on to kind of what the implications in the league, you have eventually made the signings that you said you needed. City in this window spent more than the entire rest of the Premier League, which is one, crazy, and two, very rare that you see that. Do you think those signings will solve City's issues for the rest of the season? That's a question to you as well, Reece.
Look, you got to remember we did actually only spend about 25 million euros in the summer, so it's not like if you add up together what teams spent in the summer and the January, we're about on par with some teams.
But it looks like panic. That's what it looks like.
Well, I think they've realised they made a mistake in the summer.
Yeah.
They've gone, we should have spent more in the summer, didn't. So I don't know is the honest answer, because players have needed a lot of time to embed into Pep's tactics, and then the second season they look great. We're now going to go, right, you've been given what we signed Gonzalez a day ago. We can't just expect him to turn up like Rodri in the next game. But yeah. I was happy we signed a midfielder. I said it at the start of the transfer window to you both. I don't care who we sign as long as we sign a midfielder. So that's my box ticked. We've signed some other players, but time will tell. Really, I'm not expecting us to go and win the league. I've said it before on the podcast. That was done before December. And we've got an FA Cup chance, and I'd like to say we've got a chance in the Champions League, but we've picked Mr. Champions League to play next.
I mean, they're not great. They're struggling with injuries as well in a bit of form, so you could still get through.
They don't like playing against us, even though they've gone through. Whenever they've played us, it's been a tough game in the past 3 years. It's never easy for either of us, so it's one of them. But time will tell. Look, if we don't win anything this season, I've been spoiled enough for the last several years. I can take it for a season, I just want to see performances improve, to be perfectly honest, because against Arsenal, it wasn't good enough, and the game was done at 2-1. Yeah. Not the 3, not the 4, not the 5. It was the 2-1. It was done.
Yeah, there was just a complete and utter lack of belief. And to be honest, like, although I can't say I like to see Arsenal winning, I do think you were due this spanking. And again, I touched on the Chelsea game, and it seems, looking at the games, if someone goes for the jugular against you, they again, assuming it's a good side, they will beat you at the minute. We could have turned you over, but completely and utterly bottled it and sat back. Arsenal, after that second goal, went, you know what, let's have them, and they went for it and they battered you. And I think that's what we should have done. We didn't do. But I think at the minute, if teams are aggressive against City, there's a very, very high chance if they get the first goal, they're going to win the game. I do think more teams need to do it. So it's a shame. It's a shame we didn't. But I think a lot of people will be looking at Arsenal result, going, right, City are there for the taking.
Yeah, I think you got. I think. Well, we've got. I know we spoke about City for a bit. It's sort of like we've got to give some credit to Arsenal for performing well. Like I said, I do think 5-1 flattered them. But if you said it was 3-1, I'd have gone. That was probably like the perfect result, kind of thing. It wasn't a tight 2-1 game. Arsenal were clear winners against us, really. But you know, you can't win them all. So I take it on the chin, really.
Yeah, and look, before we get into the real stay humble debate, let's just touch on what this actually means for the league, because in real terms, it puts Arsenal 9 points clear of City. So, Reece, I know you're very vocal about the lack of title chances regardless, but if you take a step back and you say, look, we're not in the title race, if you're in the top 4 race, you're looking pretty healthy, because you're 7 points still above us. You're 9 points above City. So for top 4, you're still looking pretty good.
Yeah, from a top 4 perspective, yeah, absolutely. I mean, with the investment that's been made in the last couple of years, Arsenal have to finish in the top 4. And you know, fingers crossed they go and do that by the end of the season. They've put in the performances and they've got there. So yeah, from a top 4 perspective, it's absolutely vital. However, we're going to get, if we're not careful, to that same stage under Wenger of people saying it's, you know, you only qualify for top 4 and that's it. That's going to get to that stage if this carries on for another couple of years. But nevertheless, at the moment, we're back in there, and that's what's important. And we put in a convincing performance to show that, you know, regardless of, you know, how poor City's mentality was, on Sunday, and how good Arsenal were, they're there. That's the important thing. And, you know, they've dealt with a lot of fixtures, or a congested fixture list, so to speak, quite well.
Yeah, and then I guess to say the same for City, I mean, City 5th place, as I said, level on points with Newcastle, 1 ahead of Bournemouth. You know, Jamie, how are you feeling about top? And look, we're saying top 4, right? But as we know, the top 5 could be enough for Champions League. So this whole top 4 debate could become slightly irrelevant, and it becomes a top 5 debate. How are you feeling for City's chance to Champions League? Let's put it that way.
Well, sort of, it was important that we beat Chelsea. If we didn't beat Chelsea, we'd be in a really bad position right now, especially if we lost, because then you'd be 5 points clear of us. But it'd be more. It'd be 8 points, because you would have won, we'd have dropped 3. Yeah, so it'd have been 8 points clear off you. It would have been in 4th.
Yeah.
So that would have put us in such a bad position. I know 5th might get the spot. Look, we've got Newcastle, we've got Real Madrid twice, we've got Liverpool, Spurs away, which we're not great at, and then Forest away as our next 6 games. That is tough. That is slightly worrying. But it's whether we can come out of that with... The thing is, it's sort of like, I don't expect us to beat Liverpool. Spurs, we should be beating, but you remember they beat us 4-0 already this season. It's one I can't predict. And Forest, when we were in our terrible run, we beat them 3-0 convincingly. Very odd sort of games that we've picked from that. We have to win at least 2 of them, 2 out of the 4, I think. And then I think we'd get top 5. Top 4 might be... Top 4, I think, then will depend on who we've got in the running, sort of the last sort of like 5-6 games, and if we put on a run. But I still would say we'll get it, but the confidence levels aren't that high. I'll probably say I'm like 60% back in my team, which is very low for me.
Crazy. It's crazy that we're even here after the predictions at the start of the season. I don't think anyone would have said that, but here we are. Let's get into it then. Let's get into the so-called stay humble debate. Now, look, the kind of the debate is two-sided, right? Haaland's comments have become iconic. You had Arsenal fans with T-shirts with it printed on. You had banners saying "Stay humble," and it has become a complete and utter meme for this fixture. But the debate really is predominantly around. Obviously, you saw Gabriel giving it a bit to Haaland. I don't mind that after he chucked the ball at his head and all that stuff. But I think the big debate is around Miles Lewis-Skelly doing the Haaland celebration, right? And as great as that is, and obviously Haaland earlier in the season basically said, "Who are you?" Maybe it's a response to that. But the question is this just completely proving Haaland's point? Because you've got to remember, Arsenal have not won a Premier League in 20 years. And if you spoke to the fan base, if you came down to earth, you saw the different fan bases, you'd think Arsenal, had certainly won a Premier League title in 20 years. You'd certainly think they'd won a Champions League. And yet they haven't in their entire history. So, Jamie, let's start with you. Is Haaland still right? Do Arsenal need to remain humble even when they're getting these victories?
Well, I think it goes to what you said at the end of your sentence there, George, with if you come down to earth and you saw the Arsenal supporters, you would think they are, incredible. You'd think they are number one. You'd think they're Real Madrid of the football world, the way some of them go on. It's not all Arsenal fans, don't get me wrong. The problem is the selective few that we always see are the ones online who act like it. But the fact that they made shirts, stay humble, you saw they had signs. That's, they were ready in a chant before. It's funny. It's sort of like, if you're an Arsenal fan, you'll laugh, you'll find it funny. If your team's in the middle, you'll find it possibly a bit cringy, bit of a laugh. You're in the sort of middle ones. And if you're City fans, you're just putting up four fingers, going with 4 in a row, don't worry about it, and singing second again, ole ole. So it's one of them where there's a bit of rivalry. I don't mind it because, look, when we were rivaling Liverpool, there's a little bit of ferociousness, but most of the time it was handshakes, Klopp and Pep hugging. We want to see a bit of the sort of the old United Arsenal rivalry where they're kicking people, Bernardo Silva kicking Trossard on the ground. I know that's more just through frustration for us losing, but things like that, it's the Haaland throwing the ball at Gabriel's head, Gabriel shouting in Haaland's face. It's funny. It brings entertainment. Remember, football's meant to be an entertaining sport. It's part of that, so I do enjoy it. But it does go to the point of Arsenal really need to win something to properly have the sort of going, you stay humble, not us. Because it's like the Spurs situation where you got Odegaard taking the picture with the camera. It's all well and good at that little moment. But if you don't win anything, what's the point? You're getting yourself all up and wasted from it. And my final point is, look, Skelly's, he scored his first goal for Arsenal, like senior one, I believe. And your celebration is doing the Haaland celebration. You should be running to the crowd and celebrating with them, especially if you've scored in a massive game. But no, you've sat on the floor and imitated someone who's won everything that you're not going to win. Let's put it that way. Skelly's not going to win all that Haaland wins in his career. And you've sat on the floor when it's your biggest moment of his career. I don't see him having a bigger moment in his career than that. And you've gone and sat on the floor. Go celebrate with the fans. That's what I would have wanted from my youngster. It's all funny, like it's fun and games at the end of the day. I'm not saying that's the mentality problem. But if I was him, I would have rather have celebrated with the fans and sat on the floor and done the Haaland celebration.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Reece, what was your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, from the elements of what we saw is you want rivalries in football. You want those Roy Keane Vieira moments, and this is showing examples of that. Gabriel and Haaland arguing, and of course, Lewis-Skelly. I know I called him Miles Skelly earlier, but that's just my bad. For some reason, footballers have last names as first names, but there you go. And Haaland was disrespectful to Lewis-Skelly to say, "Who are you?" That was rude. They're on the pitch as equals, so that's not very fair. So I understand that they were getting their bit back a little bit, but at the end of the day, they've won nothing. So Haaland's won the treble, and he's a double Premier League winner. Yeah, I think this isn't the first time he sort of behaved a bit strangely either. Let's not forget that. But we've won nothing. It's as simple as that. And I would look at that and go, you know what? Don't do the celebration. Celebrate it if you win the league, but you're still miles off it. And people can call me miserable, as someone called me on TikTok, just told me to shut up, whatever. It is fully justified.
If you want Reece to shut up, please do comment below.
It's fully justified because they've won nothing. So Man City are vastly superior to us. This 5-1 technically means nothing because we couldn't beat Everton and we couldn't beat Villa at home. It's the same as last year. We beat Liverpool at home and City at home. Everyone got all excited. City still came top. City didn't beat Liverpool or Arsenal last season. So let's get real here. We can't get excited because we beat one of the big boys. We need to get excited because we're actually top of the table, and we're not. We're miles off it. So enjoy the celebration, enjoy the moment. But it's like I said after the Spurs game. The celebrations are over the top because we've not achieved anything. And then what happened after that? 2-2 against Aston Villa. So let's get real here. If you're trying to act like a big club, stop acting like a small one. Get on with it. And then, celebrate at the end. Because if you can lift the Premier League trophy at the end of the day, you might be able to say over Haaland, look, we got it back. But we haven't. City have been at their worst, and we can't even bloody take advantage of it. It's pathetic.
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to, right? Go and earn. I don't mind it. I agree with you, Jamie, in the sense that we want to see a bit of this shithousery. We want to see the fights. We want to see the rivalry. There's so many games over the years have been bigged up and hyped up by Sky or whoever, and then they disappoint. So we do want to see this kind of rivalry, but at the end of the day, it's all bark and no bite until you go and win a big trophy, right? You can't flex. Arteta tried, but you can't be flexing 2 Community Shields. Go and win the league and then get arrogant to City the next year. Go and win the Champions League and then start acting like a big club. So yeah, that's kind of my take on it. But look, there's been plenty here to agree with, disagree with. For everyone who is watching and got this far, please do let us know your thoughts on this debate below. And of course, make sure you're following us on all the channels as well. But as always, like, comment and subscribe. You know the drill.